Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the MMA Daily Show. Today, there's not going to be any news because I did an interview yesterday with UFC fighter Ewell, and it's a very, very interesting interview. It's nearly 20 minutes long, and I thought I would do a sole episode for this because this guy's story is so interesting to hear, and I think you guys are going to really appreciate this interview if you listen to the whole of it. And I do apologise, by the way, because we did have some trouble with my Skype and the connection because I'm obviously based in the UK and he's on the West Coast. So I do apologise for any breakups. There are like little breaks up here and there. But I have split it up as much as I can to try and make it as succinct as I could. So I'm just going to let you guys listen to this, and I hope you guys enjoy. If you've got any feedback, leave it in the comment section down below. And for more interviews, I've got an interview coming up every day this week. So be sure to leave a like and subscribe as well. And let's get right into the interview. I'm alright, man. Thanks very much for doing this, man.
Hey, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Hey, man, anytime. Like, I was, the reason why I contacted you is because, one, I really enjoyed watching your first fight and your last fight as well. And the thing that really pushed me to try and talk to you is I saw an interview with you. I think it was I was pre-fight, your first fight before your UFC debut. And it was where you were talking about your son and your mom and how you were nearly homeless before your UFC contract. And I tell you what, that story really hit me. And it was like, you know, one of the things that is a big thing about MMA is everyone always talks about the glitz and the glamour about you being a big UFC star and making it to the UFC. And I was like, damn, like that shit hit me really hard. So I was like, I need to talk to this guy and like come to understand more about that story, man. So first off, in case a lot of people may not be familiar with you and your work, because you have fought like over 20 times in your career or something like that. Maybe just give a brief idea of who you are, your background, and how you got into MMA.
Okay. Well, one, name's Ewell. Yeah, new nickname, as not new, but more kind of something that sticks and it's going to be known for the world now. It's Day. So meaning, go ahead and grasp the day of your life. The way I can kind of like push it. But what started me was basically my mom. Or growing up, Pop's always telling me, "Hey, you're light skinned." Basically like a big colored thing going on where we're from, you know, and raising up and everything. So it's like a lot of racism stuff going on, people fighting other colors and colors fighting our color type thing. And it was really like a lot black on black too. so pushed on that like angle. It was one of those I had to end up defending because I was always the new kid, always moving. So that kind of like pushed me in the direction of always knowing what combat is and what is what and how to defend and, you know, basically about space and not allowing people to invade your space, you know. But growing up rough, off on that edge, not really having much, and that turned into the moment of me finding out that I'm like really great at what I actually do. But didn't really turn into that situation until my mom continued to push it on me and wasn't really like paying attention because, you know, when your mom says fight and it's like, nah, you know, I was cute at the time.
Yeah.
Still cute now, but at the time it was like one of those, hey, you know, I was like the modeling type with long hair, curly, you know, hair bouncing in the wind type stuff, you know, like a pure light-skinned kid. Like, oh, there goes the little light bright, you know. But that ended up turning into the moment of, you know, you got to end up doing what you do best. And when it comes into the factors in me going to court for my son and them taking him away from me, my son's mother and everything, you know. So that kind of came like a super altercation, and how the judge looked at me with like I had no value, you know. And it's my little brother right now. But yeah, so, you know, end up looking at me like with no value, and I didn't end up liking it, you know. And that turned me into the MMA sport about 3.5 years ago, you know. But I was doing boxing at the age of 7, wrestling at the age of 7, taekwondo at the age of 7. Just a lot of training, a lot of sports and everything. But, you know, your true calling calls you and pulls you into what you're supposed to do in life. And what ended up pulling me was fighting. And that's what ended up happening. So eventually turned it into that where it was me fighting for my son's life, you know, or me getting into my son's life and still fighting. Can't, you know, true argument there, but it's me still fighting to be in his life. So that's what ended up happening.
Wow. See, stories like that always get to me, man. Like I said, you hear about the glitz and the glamour of fighting, and you see MMA fighters rolling around with Rolexes and suits and Rolls Royce and all those kind of things. But you know,
True.
a lot of people don't pay attention to people further down the cards and the shit that they go through, especially outside of the UFC and all that kind of shit, man. I touching on the whole homeless. You were going to go homeless before you got your UFC contract. Could you probably explain that story again? In case
Oh
people
yeah,
haven't heard
definitely.
that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Truth be told, it was like I end up hearing it. It's one of those moments of we have a time, to end up getting our own spot or not getting our own spot. My mom, at the place that we was at, my mom was ended up getting kicked out, and it was one of those I could have played the selfish role, but it was one of those we had to end up doing something. So it was, and it's a funny, interesting story of how I'm going to place it because I used to be with this old managing group called KO Reps. And KO Reps, it ended up separating where one of the managers, or the manager that I'm with right now is Matt Dodge. He ended up wanted to part ways with them, and I was the guy that he wanted to pull. And this is without even talk of UFC, but I knew that it was eventually me going to get the call, or me going to
Sure.
walk on. But
Yeah.
So the backstory of the situation was the owner of the KO Reps ends up calling because UFC called for me, which they called the guy because my name was under his paper and everything. And he ends up reaching out to me saying, well, if you go with me, etc., we can walk you on the whole UFC. So people that don't know that I almost walked away off on the first contract that got sent to me.
Oh wow.
So on that situation, it was me basically going with, I don't want to call it like a snake, but it's just that you can call it I didn't really enjoy the vibes with that manager. So how I am, it's that I prefer basically a friendly type thing, like where, it's a bond.
Yeah.
Because you got to remember, like when you're managing, where that comes from, you're like putting your whole life in their hands. And people don't really understand that, but it's like you give them, your social, your banks, all this type of statement, your life, the
Yeah.
whole thing. And they're the one that's over your money, controlling your money, passing off and stuff like that. So it was one of those situations, like there's nothing against it, but I have not talked to that one manager one time, but with Matt, I'm speaking to him. I met his dad, and I met his his lovely lady. Like I know Matt's been there. He's coming there. He's showing his face. He's calling me to make sure that I'm okay and stuff like that. So we, it was just like a good bond. It was a great bond that me and him had. So it was one of those, if I'm not jumping in the UFC with my team, which was Matt and the team that I have, I'm good.
Yeah.
And I was like, and no matter what, how you look at it, that I will end up getting into the UFC. It's kind of like one of those, we give you $1 million now, but you got to stab this person in the back. Or wait a year and you'll get another, we'll give you $1 million. I'm the guy that will wait a whole year to get the $1 million because I know that I'm going to get $1 million. I prefer the $1 million in the right way,
Yeah.
So in that situation where it was placed also in a little bad predicament of life decisions of, hey, we're getting ready to be homeless and we're getting ready to run the streets type thing, and that whole, we got to end up figuring out of where we're going to stay and all that other stuff. So that kind of like floated into the direction because the people that we're renting from just out of nowhere wanted to kick us out. And it was one of those like situations of, hey, we have somebody else that wants to buy it, so you got to leave. And it was kind of like wrong timing. Yeah, I guess you can go ahead and place it at where it left us homeless, So that ended up turning and diverting to a moment of that the manager I had now, that it was just like a miscommunication where the phone call literally just had to be directed over to my manager. So we ended up signing 2 days before. And with the signature being signed, everything ended up getting me a home and everything else, So, other people wanted to invest and stuff like that. So it kind of like flowed into that direction where we wasn't homeless no more. And my whole big story was making sure my mom and my family are okay,
Yeah.
So that's where I ended up floating into that direction. My bad for like pulling everybody into the drawing you into the story, but yeah, it was like left and right of where I almost walked away from the UFC. It was kind of like one of those moments,
Yeah, man. it's such a touching story in a way of how a lot of people see getting into the UFC is almost the climax of their career, and you just got there at the point of breaking point where you were going to lose your home and you've got all these other problems going on with your son and your mom, and a story like that is just
Yeah.
such a touching thing and a heartbreaking thing to hear about. But one of the deep things about fighting is controlling your emotions, because when you step in that cage, everything outside of that cage, nothing, you can't really think about that kind of stuff because it'll throw you off your game plan and all those kind of things. So as a person who was going through a lot of things when you were stepping in on your UFC debut, how did you kind of control those emotions going in there, knowing that you had so much on the line, that you need to make a good first impression and you need to put on a good performance?
Just that right there. What pushed me was me. I'm the type that don't really get nervous, because the way I look at it is, like I stated, like me being in the court was like the worst feeling. Because like when I'm like sweating and you have someone where you can't do anything and you're just sitting there, you have to listen to people just down talk you, and knowing that it's a lie, knowing that no. I'm actually a good person. Everybody that's around me, they see me, they listen to me, they talk to me, they love me. It's like, you give me 5 minutes of your time, I promise you'll fucking love me. It'd be like one of those, man, whoever that is, I'll invite them to my barbecue or to my baby shower or whatever, whatever type of party that we end up having. But going into that fight, to be honest, like they put me through so much stuff, man, that my mind wasn't even really set on even like the fight. It was just one of those, you guys keep putting me through it, I'm just letting you know it's going to be worse in the cage, because it's like I see you guys trying to shake me up, and when I say shake me up, it was like when I got there, it's like I had to go to see a doctor like a lot, because it's like something ended up happening like on some like paperwork where that something ended up messing up, and the situation where they tried to fix it, and the whole time of them trying to fix it was trying to make sure, we got to make sure everything's good. We got to make sure everything is good. And it was like one of those, you guys are just kind of like doing this on purpose, where it's kind of like floating on to this, make that side a little bit better. I don't know. Yeah. But I ended up looking at it. My mind wasn't even on set on that like full cage. It was just me performing and me doing what I do best. And that's make a show. And still the fans. That's like one thing I end up love doing. It's honestly getting my story out. Like I didn't want my story to be where it's here's what I was saying. It's like, I don't want my story to be where it's like we feel sorry for the guy, I wanted the story to be out where it shows that, let people know that you still have hope. Like there's so finishing the point, it's basically I don't want my story to feel like it's a sad story making people feel sorry for me, I want my story to be hope, where it can turn anything from a bad situation into being a positive situation. I had a lot of negative stuff going on in my life, and I ended up fighting for something, for value, and that ended up flipping to landing me into.
So what you're trying to say is that you don't want it to be a bad story, but you want it to be a symbol of that even if you're going through a bad time, it can be you can muscle through it and fight through it, and it can be and it can be like a prime example of what to do when you're going through shit. Yeah, and just in case anyone else is wondering at the moment, like how you doing nowadays? Like you've had 2 fights in the UFC, you've won 1, you've lost 1. How are you doing now in your life at this current moment in time?
Put it like this, like the last, they know that wasn't me, it still comes down to that moment. I still always got to apologize, and I can only perform in the next one and make it even better. So hopefully everybody accepts my apologies with my fist, and that's like my saying as in what we're going to go with. So this one, I'm not gonna lie, it motivated me. Everything and anything that happens, like I was in my, and then now I turned it around, So now it's just about me being motivated and pushing forward and performing the way that I should be performing in front of the world,
Yeah, man. So what is it like to be on? What is it like to be on the undercard of the UFC? Because like I said at the beginning of this interview, a lot of people always focus on the top of the card. They always talk about the main event. So, but what is it like to be the first one to walk out in a UFC card on the prelims or the early prelims, or what is it like to be on the not like the lowest fighter, because there's like so many people on the UFC roster, if that makes sense, and a lot of people always focus on the top 50. You know what I mean? What is it like to be one of those guys that's not a ranked fighter and he's fairly new to the UFC? Do you get as much as attention? Do you get as much interest from fans? Like obviously you're starting off, but do people still serve you with the same respect that they would do other people, if that's what I'm trying to say?
Everything ends up coming where it depends. Because, true fans will end up loving you. The ones, okay, so stating like the people that end up following, they love you. The ones that are true fans, they love you. They appreciate the sport. It's kind of being on the streaming. The one that's on the streaming is like $1. And we're going to end up classifying everything as $1 at the moment. You get 100 pennies. And that's like normal ESPN watching, That's the undercard. People that watch it. Yeah, you have 100 pennies. Yeah, equals $1, but in reality, you're not going to value 100 pennies as you're going to value 4 quarters. Are you with me? And the 4 quarters, the true fans that want to watch it, that pay, they do everything they can to get to be able to watch it, just to watch you. So being undercard, it's one of those. It is what it is, and it opens up the door for the true fans to end up loving you and end up showing your true value.
Yeah.
And then when you make it to the big card, those 100 pennies that you placed in a safe or a little, what we call it, a jar, ends up becoming, collectible items type thing, and next those 100 becomes your 4 quarters where they're starting to value, and then they love you. And then, so in reality, it's a stepping stone. Everybody knows anything and everything you do, you're starting from the beginning.
Yeah.
You're starting something new, something from the beginning. Because before the UFC, I was known, but now I'm in the UFC, the people that already know me, it's automatically spreading word to everybody that have not seen me. And when the people that haven't seen me, like, say, for instance, like China, I want to fight in China so people know me. Before I got to Brazil, no one knew anything about me. They just saw me as another American that needs to die that day,
Yeah.
But after I ended up fighting, those same people that were chanting, kill type, they're over here, hey, can we take a picture? And not only that, majority of, like, a lot of my followers are from Brazil, So I'm getting a lot of love from them. So anything and everything is just about showing what you're worth. And I'm out here and I know my value and I'm here to show the world my value,
Yeah, man.
Most definitely.
Yeah, man. I tell you what, man. I can't wait to see you get more exposure, because one of the things that I can already get is you've got such a positive attitude and such a lovable personality that as soon as the people hear you speak on a bigger stage, there's more fans going to pay attention to you. And hopefully you can do that with your upcoming fight, because you do have an upcoming fight at the end of this month, don't you? So how important is that next fight for you against Anderson Dos Santos? Coming off a loss, and you need to get that more attention to yourself so you can grow and get a bigger audience. So how important is this fight coming off a loss, and then so you can grow more and get more attention upon yourself?
Oh, it's super important, and as long as I'm definitely being me and keeping it exciting, and everything and anything I want from it is going to pull out, And like I said, it's going to be an interesting and exciting fight because Santos is an exciting fighter, He's out, he's ready to throw, he's ready to take you down, he's ready to, basically bulldozer. But when it comes down to somebody that's exciting, that ends up bringing, fireworks, which is me. I love to bring fireworks to the show. So, it's gonna keep it exciting. It's one of those. So I already know the value and what the people are going to end up seeing. And especially since it's Greenville, because Greenville's already kind of talking down, or some of the Greenville people are already talking down on the card, saying that it's not going to be exciting. But it's one of those things like, I'm exciting. Korean Zombie is exciting. The card is exciting. You just got to pay attention and, watch it. So it's going to be one of those.
Yeah.
Those openly beautiful fights.
Definitely, man. I can't wait to watch it anyway. I'm definitely going to be watching. So, obviously, you've got into the UFC now and you've had a couple of fights under your belt. So, where do you see yourself going, say, in the next 5 years? If you give yourself a rough estimate, as optimistic as you possibly want to be, where do you want to see yourself in the next 5 years?
5 years, I want to be basically on that status that's either on that Conor / Floyd Mayweather / John Jones, more people I can end up naming, level where I walk in, people already know who I am, and it's one of those, hey, we're opening up this spot just for him. Like, I want to be in 5 years, basically pound for pound as in one of the best, known. And if you can end up either in the next 10 years, I want to be like the Bruce Lee of the fight sport, But I already see me in the next 2 years where I'm either holding belts in 35 and the third, and or holding a belt in 35 and holding a belt at 45 and 3. So, and in the fifth year of me going up to 55 to basically show the worth to the world that there could be a 3-time champion. And I believe I'll be the first one to do that. I can do that. So I'm going to show them I can do that. And they're going to believe I can do that because I'm excited.
Yeah, man.
It's one of those things.
Yeah, man. Hey, why, what's that phrase? How can the sky be the limit when there's footsteps on the moon? If you don't, even if you don't reach the moon and you reach the top of a tree, that's still an achievement in of itself. So just lastly for me, obviously, you've been through a lot of adversity and a lot of challenges in your life, and what would you say for those fighters that are not even in the UFC yet, or they're young, aspirational, and they're going through hard times? They got problems at home, they got financial problems. And they're thinking about, I don't want to pursue my dreams because I gotta, do a 9-to-5 job, or I don't want to pursue MMA anymore because of all these problems. What would you say to those people that are struggling and they're younger and they're in a worse position than you are right now?
Simple. If there's a will, there's a way, or if there's a way, there's a will. How you end up flipping it, it ends up automatically going in the right direction. That if you can do something, do it. If you feel that you need to open up more time for it, do it. And I understand, because look, when I ended up saying it, I ended up putting anything and everything that I had into this, meaning that I went to the whole bankrupt as in not having money. Every money that I was making was going straight into work, So it's about promoting, promote yourself. You can end up easily talking your way into sponsors. If you believe in what you're doing, those sponsors or whoever you end up talking to will believe in what you're doing. And that's the same thing as in being with coaches. You can get them to believe in you, and be honest, I'm about to end up starting a fundraiser for stuff like that, for where I end up sponsoring fighters in the upcoming future, where some people that don't have chances, where I'm going to give them those chances, Simple sponsors, and what we can end up doing where people that want to do something or they feel like they can't, or getting kicked out of their lives or livelihood, or they can't afford with the money, there's ways. There's literally ways to automatically get a way around it. And then whoever you end up looking up to, aim to be better. Always aim to be better, because that's always going to end up pushing the person that you look up to make them go a little harder for what they want in life, So when I look at it is keep pushing, keep fighting.
That's great advice, man, and I can't wait to see you fight and see where you end up in the next, 2 to 5 years, and I'll definitely be watching your next couple of fights, and I'll be rooting for you. So thanks very much for this, man. I very much appreciate it, and yeah, man, I can't wait to see what you do. If you want to plug anything, you're more than welcome to right now, whether you're Instagram or whatever you want to do. You're more than welcome to do that right now.
All right, cool. Thank you for having me, brother.
Anytime,
top it off. Hey, cool. And you guys want to reach me at Day42. That's my Instagram, spelled DAII42. And that's where you can get it. Shout outs to all my sponsors, Dynasty, nothing but love to you. We have Terp House, which is honestly good for CBD oils, and MMA Signatures that just ended up become my new sponsor today, and also my tequila, Knockout. Make sure you end up honestly getting yourself up on there and signing up, and make sure you get your reserve. You feel me? So besides that, nothing but love. All love to everybody, and keep pushing for your goals.
Thanks very much, man. I appreciate this so much, and I hope to speak to you again, soon, and see where you're at, and then see how much progress you made, and hope to see nothing but good love for the future, man. So thanks very much, and hope to speak to you again. All right, man. Look after yourself. Bye-bye.
I feel him in the club. Put her, yeah, I'm outside.